They're the two best teams in the AFC, and yet the Broncos have beaten the Browns 8 consecutive times. Their scheduled meeting this year was canceled because of the strike. Here we are at halftime, 21-3 Broncos. They led the Oilers 24-3 at halftime last week. The Oilers were taken out of their running game. The same thing has happened to the Browns here, and the Browns have been beaten on the scoreboard and also beaten physically. Babb hurt, Pizzuli's been hurt, Hairston hurt, and a couple of things, Coach, that we pointed out on the pregame show really came into play early in the first half. First of all, the Browns are not usually susceptible to turnovers. They were guilty of 3 turnovers last year in the AFC Championship game, and it cost them against the Broncos. The same thing right off the bat today.
Right, we said early in the pregame show that they can't afford to make the mistakes. And on their first possession, Kozar is throwing from backed up. He's got Slaughter open on a slant. Hits him right in the hands. Slaughter can't hang on to the football. There's a blitz coming. Denver shows early that they want to put the heat on Kozar by blitzing the safety man. The ball bounces up in the air, and Gilbert comes back after rushing the passer, comes back with great hustle, and gets the ball as it's batted up in the air.
Now, immediately after that, they cash in because Elway fires one to Natil, and I guess that these Bronco receivers now are used to this. They put a little cushion in those hands. They know the bullet is coming.
And this was a bullet. In contrast to what Denver did by rushing, Cleveland decides to go with only a 3-man rush. You can see Elway looking the receivers off and then coming back with Natil as he comes across the middle, has plenty of time to drill it in there, and Natil has to have a lot of work catching that hard pass.
All right, then another turnover. Mack fumbles, Steve Wilson recovers, Gene Lang with a 42-yard gallop to set it up, and you also mentioned that Steve Sewell might be a hidden key today for the Broncos, and look how imaginatively they use him here.
This is a short yardage play, and he's up there in a close flanker position. They fake just a straight handoff, and he comes around. Good block by Humphrey out there in front of him, and Sewell just gets into the end zone for the touchdown.
Gene Lang, who had set up that touchdown, later got a 1-yard run of his own, and it was set up by this pass to Natil.
Again, all day to throw the football. Elway's back there. Natil is going in motion. You can see him going across to their left. He's got time to come all the way back across the field. You can see the 3-man rush from Cleveland. Elway's got the ball. He's looking downfield. The 3-man rush just doesn't do the job. They're sitting back there and protecting. He waits for Natil to come, and it's so tough for coverage on this. Minifield trying to get onto the coverage, but he beats him across the field and gets it down there to set up their next touchdown. A lot of time to throw the football.
Okay, I've asked you this question about the coaches each of the last couple of weeks. We know what Dan Reeves is saying. Way to go, boys. Don't change a thing. But what can Schottenheimer do?
There's only one thing that Schottenheimer can do is to try to get them together to restore their confidence and get a drive going early. They're going to have to kick off. They got to play great defense after they kick off, get the ball back, and then stay with their game plan. They got to give their game plan a chance by mixing the run and the pass on at least the first series. If they get in on the first series, they're back in the ball game. If they don't get in, then they're going to get into a pass-only situation where they got to throw the ball on every down, and then Denver gets to do all the things they want to do as far as coverage and blitz.
How important could Barr's field goal have been at the end if he hit it?
Well, I don't know how important. They needed the touchdown.
I mean, psychologically.
It would have helped if they'd have gone in with at least 3 points. But the fact that he didn't hit it, it looked like it was going to come in there. It stayed out. Now they got to go from here. They can't worry about not making the field goal.
All right, we know where the Washington Redskins will go from here to San Diego in a couple of weeks. Against the winner of this game, the Redskins under Joe Gibbs are in the Super Bowl for the 3rd time in this decade. They win at RFK today over the Vikings in a terrific game, 17-10. And I tell you, these Redskin fans are almost as crazy, maybe just as crazy as these Bronco maniacs. And they're cheering for Doug Williams these days. This caps a long drive, a 98-yard drive, 42-yarder to Kelvin Bryant, nice over-the-shoulder catch, and a 7-0 Redskin lead in the first quarter. However, Wade Wilson gets the Vikings even. He pumps once, then lobs one to the Missouri product, Leo Lewis, for the second quarter touchdown, ties it at 7. Now watch this play in the third quarter. Dave Butts, who has been playing, I think, since the Eisenhower administration, deflects this one. Mel Kaufman intercepts it. It leads to an Ali Haji Sheikh field goal. He had missed a couple of makeable ones earlier, and it's a 10-7 lead for the Redskins. All day, they got pressure on Wilson. 8 sacks all told. Disregard the flag here. It was on the Vikings. Alvin Walton gets credit for the sack. Now, after a Nelson field goal had tied it at 10, here's Williams for what proves to be the game winner. He drills it into Gary Clark, a 17-10 lead. The Vikings came back. 4th and 4 from the 6-yard line. Closing minute of the game. And here's the pass, incomplete, in and out of the hands of Darren Nelson. That's Darrell Green, who was in on the coverage. A sigh of relief. by Joe Gibbs. He definitely looks like a man who is more relieved than jubilant, and you saw Darrell Green on that coverage. His availability with the rib injury was a question. He did play today for the Redskins. From the happy Redskin locker room, Joe Gibbs visited with us. I asked him as he watches the second half of this game, will it be as a scout or as a fan?
I'll definitely watch it as a fan. I'm going to go get my family right now. Pat, JD, and Coy, we're going to go someplace and eat with some friends and watch the rest of the game. I hope I can hurry up and get out of here.
Was there anything about your own game with the Vikings that surprised you at all?
I think both defenses, you know, when we played before, last two times, there were big offensive shows, and I think both defenses really rose up and played great today. And our defense has led us when they've had to during the year. And so that's a good feeling for us. Our defense kind of led us today.
When the ball was inside the 10 in the closing seconds, was your heart in your throat?
You bet it was. I think it was a whole year, and I can't even remember the other times we went to the Super Bowl, it seems like. It was just, everything was rolled into those few plays, and it was just like you're ready to burst down there, looking at it and praying that for the right reasons, I hope, not just for us, or for me, but for everybody here with the Redskins. We were just wanting to go so bad, and it's a thrill for us. I hope we represent the NFC the right way out there. I think we're going to try and do our best, and going to San Diego is a good place to go.
Do you have any sense of your own stature? 3 times you coached a team into the Super Bowl in the last half-decade or so.
I think that reflects on our organization. It starts with Mr. Cook and Bobby, who get me the players. And I think I've been fortunate to come to a real good situation here with the Redskins, and I think probably any other coach would have won here also. I think I've been very fortunate to be put in a spot where you can win. So anything that I get personally, I really feel goes to this organization, and you know, it's just that I'm up front. I get a lot of the publicity and what have you, but that's not really correct. I'm just thrilled to be here, and I said I thank God that I get the opportunity to coach in a place like this and been surrounded by players and people in the organization that give me all the support that it takes.
Lastly, how'd you come out of it health-wise today?
I think that David Jones, our snapper, I think is hurt. I'm not sure how bad. And I think that everybody else is going to be okay, so that's good news for us.
Congratulations, Joe.
Thank y'all. We're thrilled. Everybody here is thrilled, and we're looking forward to seeing everybody out at the Super Bowl.
In case you missed it, not only did the Redskins hold at the end of the game to prevent the Vikings from sending it into overtime, but when Chuck Nelson had tied it earlier at 10, that was after another goal line stand by the Redskins. They forced the Vikings to settle for the field goal when they could have had the touchdown. So when they had to, the Skins' D definitely stiffened. This was the only time in 4 games in the NFC playoffs that the home team won. In the AFC, barring some kind of Browns miracle here in the second half, it'll be a clean sweep in all 4 games for the home teams, and we might be headed for Broncos against the Redskins in Super Bowl 22. Now let's head for the sidelines. Here's our man, Ahmad Rashad. Ahmad?
All right, Bob, with the score 21-3, I want to remind you folks that my partner, Paul McGuire, picked Cleveland by 3, but at this point, Paul, it appears that those Broncos are breaking those dogs' bones.
What?
I said that it appears the Broncos are breaking those dogs' bones.
Yeah. When you look at this thing, it is true. That's the first step. This dog is mad here. I'm telling you, this dog is mad. That's the first half. They've got 30 minutes of football to play in.
All right, let's talk about the first half. It appeared to me that John Elway was able to do almost anything he wanted to.
Well, Elway, you know, when you look at what Cleveland's doing, they're sitting back, and they're afraid of Elway, of the things that Elway can do, and he is controlling the football game. And when Elway does that, it puts a lot of pressure on the defense. You look at Cleveland, they talk about their 2 quarterbacks, Hanford Dixon and Minifield. All right, if they're that good and they're in the All-Pros, let them play man-to-man. Put some blitzing on Elway.
All right, the thing is that putting Cleveland in the hole, they're a ball control offense, and all of a sudden now they're behind right at the start of the game by 14 points. That really puts them in the hole.
Well, you know, this is like a repeat of last week's game of mine. We're seeing the same thing. There's a turnover, and all of a sudden the Denver Broncos score. The strength of the Cleveland Browns in a running game. And they proved that they could run a few times. Go ahead and keep doing it. They're not that far out of this game.
Speaking of a repeat of last week's game, now what's happening is the Cleveland Browns aren't able to handle those quick defensive linemen of the Broncos. Let's take a look at this play here. You see a chance for the Broncos. They're so quick that they're getting by the offensive line and putting all the pressure on Kozar. Here they run him out of bounds. He ends up getting a penalty here for trying to get rid of the ball.
You know, It's true, and you talk about this all the time. I like big linemen, you know, the guys that can cover some space. But again, the same thing that happened last week. The Denver Broncos defense, they're just getting and forcing the offensive linemen to do something they don't want to do.
Now, can the Cleveland Browns come back here in the second half, and how?
They will come back the second half, and they'll run the ball at the beginning and then start throwing the ball. They'll come back. Promise you, they'll come back.
Okay, I got to help Paul get this head up. Bobby, take it.
All right, Ahmad, our thanks to you and the Mad Hatter. I'm Chuck Barris. The Gong Show continues following these messages from your local stations. It's no laughing matter for the Browns, though. 21-3 Denver at the half. We'll return to Dick Enberg and Merlin Olsen when we come back.
Tonight, it's the class of '88 taking driver's ed.
Step on it.
They're buckling up.
Hit the brake.
Getting down.
Not with my daughter, you won't.
Hitting the open road with Jack Hay,
Freeway of love.
Teeny Others, and Harvey Korman.
Time to learn how to change lanes, son.
Bumper-to-bumper laughs.
Just be careful out there.
Crash Course tonight.
Where on your radio can you find soft and easy favorites of the 60s, 70s, and 80s?
Are you going to Scarborough?
Soft as in
September morn.
It's Magic 95 FM with 10 in a row favorites of yesterday and today. The best mix, less talk, here at 95.5. Listen to KKMJ, Magic 95 FM.
Randy Jackson, tonight at 10 on News 36.
While only 12 total yards separated the two teams, the Broncos lead 21-3 on the strength of 3 turnovers. 3 quick turnovers, and the first 2 led to touchdowns. The first from the 18-yard line of the Cleveland Browns, and it was a familiar scene for Denver. That's how they started against Houston last week, with that quick turnover at the 1-yard line of the Oilers, and the play selection probably dictated by that quick early lead.
When you can get the football very quickly, take advantage, get some points on the board, and when you have early success running the football, you obviously stay with that. Denver obviously doing a good job of adjusting within the framework of the game. That's not what they planned to do, but it worked, so they continue to do it. Now, they also benefited from tremendous field position. You notice that the Browns started their 6 drives on an average of their own 28-yard line. The Broncos almost at midfield to start their 5 drives on the day.
Well, the Cleveland Browns, you've heard the analysis of Don Shula and our other experts at halftime. How do you see their chance of making this a contest in the second half?
I don't think the Browns are as good a comeback team as Denver is. Denver with Elway, certainly explosive enough to get those points in a hurry. But they certainly have a lot of weapons, and they have not been able to get to them. I think they've got to come out and start with 1 drive. I mean, you've got to start that road back with 1 touchdown, and they're going to have to take advantage of what they do. They obviously are going to have to wait a little bit because they don't get the football right away either. Denver's going to have it to start the second half.
And one thing we saw last week when Dan Reeves and the Broncos got the sizable lead against Houston, they just didn't pull into a shell and sit on the ball. They continued to throw it and tried to build their lead.
I think we can expect that again. And I think we're seeing several things from the Broncos today. The experience of their playoff time, both these teams' playoff experience, but at the same time, the great confidence that Reeves and his staff had, and the tremendous motivation that loss against the Giants in the Super Bowl last year just planted that seed in their heads. Boy, I tell you, they have kept their eyes on that